My first lecture on the topic of learning was lifelong learning helps in brain growth, which continues to grow throughout life. More you learn, more your brain grows. Second lecture was learning how to learn. What are the various methodologies of learning? Now, today I am talking on things that harm brain, harm our thinking and learning. We have 100 billion neurons in our brain. Each of the neuron is like a ordinary desktop computer, 100 billion. And they have, each has about 1000 to 10,000 connections. And so say 100 trillion connections. So this brain is netwire, a big networking of computers inside which store the memory and they recall the memory, process the memory, use it for our experiences, for meeting our daily day-to-day life, meeting our emergencies, and suggesting us new ways of life, making new discoveries for the human race, for your own life, for the your family, and giving you imagination and intuition. So, what are the things that harm? Number one, alcohol. Alcohol, why I have chosen as number one? Because this is in fashion. Nowadays, it has become fashionable that one should drink. And the person who does not drink is supposed to be a person who is weak. Even ladies are drinking more than men. So, how does it harm the brain? Number one, it causes depression. Alcohol is a depressing agent. So, naturally, it will depress the brain function. Second thing is it will cause confusion. So, it will confuse. Third thing is it will cause forgetfulness and irritation. Now, these things are direct effect on the neurons. So these are the various neurons. As it reaches through blood on the neurons, it makes them so think that they do not work well. Second thing is that it reduces the amount of vitamin B complex, especially vitamin B1 like thiamine. So that is very important for various connections in our body and even for brain mass. So this alcohol on the long term, the more you use alcohol, more often you use, and the percentage of alcohol more in different types of alcohols available in the market for consumption. All these have effects on the body, and the vitamin B complex, especially vitamin B, is reduced. And another thing, manganese, it affects the level of manganese in our brain and neurons, so they dysfunction. Long term use of alcohol can lead to like Wernicke's atrophy of the brain. It can lead to shrinkage of the size of the brain, early Alzheimer's, early dementia, and other mental illnesses. So it reduces our connectivity speed of the spread of information, reduces the brain cell neuron functioning, and even the brain mass. Alcohol, I will not go into details, much details in this lecture in any of the things. So next thing is smoking. So when you smoke, although smoking tobacco has become lesser in the world, so whatever the smoke goes inside, whether it is industrial smoke or vehicular smoke or a tobacco smoke, it decreases the level of oxygen and increases the level of carbon dioxide, which is produced by burning anything, and other harmful gases. And so we brain receives less oxygen. This is one thing which causes the smoke. There has many other bad effects like cancer and all. Now, cannabis or marijuana is becoming again like alcohol a fashion these days. It is getting legalized in many places, but it is very well established that it reduces the IQ level, and it has been studied in various types of studies everywhere by comparing thousands of people, especially the use in adolescents. because mainly the adolescents are using it, and so their IQ levels go down by many percentage, and depending upon their how much they use, how much regularly they use, and so what quality they use, because various chemicals go inside them, and that thing reduces their IQ level from 8% to around 40%. So the person becomes like a stupid person. It decreases the working of the neurons of connection and shrinks the brain. So this smoking can lead to ultimately Alzheimer's and many other problems. So this affect the synaptic working. So these are the like every neuron has one axon going outside, like from here one axon is going, and many dendrites. This axon make connection with the body of other neurons, with the other uh, dendrites, and with other axons like this axon and axon meeting from this. So because one axon in one neuron, but very dendrites. So the connection, the neurotransmitters there, like dopamine, serotonin, which are the chemicals in the brain in the transmission of the impulses, they are affected. And more of noradrenaline, blockage at various stages. So the person's brain working ultimately becomes affected to the extent that cannabis causes a sort of demotivational syndrome. And demotivational syndrome means the person doesn't look towards the reward of doing any hard work or achieving anything. So the person loses interest in the reward of any activity. Also, the constant use of cannabis is known to produce psychosis, means the person becomes disconnected with the reality, may have hallucinations, may have delusions of grandeur, and may not understand the thing well about the time, space, matter, his goals in life, his purpose in life, and it can even lead to a frank schizophrenia. So this schizophrenia and psychosis, it has double effect, that people who get this anxiety, neurosis, psychosis, they get a small relief by taking cannabis again. But this taking of cannabis again ultimately lead to an irreversible schizophrenia. So this has, depending upon the genetic uh, makeup of the person and the type of cannabis one uses, amount of cannabis, and the long period cannabis use, it will mainly lead to demotivational syndrome. It will lead to less IQ, and it will lead to psychosis and even schizophrenia. This is very dangerous use. In the cannabis, people are losing their brains, their enthusiasm. Third is sugar. Now this is a pandemic. The more sugar is used, less nutrition is absorbed, and the more levels of fluctuating sugars, they again cause various types of working problems at neuronal and synapses level, and these can lead to early Alzheimer's and dementia. Sugar, salt. So excessive salt by way of changing the matter into the conductivity into the brain. This can again harm our purpose of learning, the memory storage into the brain. Trans fatty acids. Trans fatty acids, they affect the working of the brain. Also, they coagulate the decrease. They may cause stroke, and they may cause mini strokes, which is not known. The person get a stroke, like his artery is blocked, and so right artery is blocked in somewhere. Left arm will lip or will become like this. So this is a stroke. The arm will lip or whole of the half body will lip. This is stroke or hemiplegia. But mini strokes in the brain, small areas of the brain are lost. So whatever function they are doing, those functions are gone. And this affects in many other ways. Like I told you that to keep the things short. Now pesticide residues. Now pesticide is become because we need so much of growing population. We need large number of amount of food. And for that, to protect that from various type of diseases, fungal diseases, insecticides are used, pesticides are used. So these pesticides and insecticides, they not only remain on the surface of the fruit or vegetable or the grains, they go inside them. They go inside the land, and then later on, whatever crops we grow, they come outside into the new crops. So these pesticides, they are very, very harmful to the brain functioning, as they are harmful to the insects, to the fungi, to the worms. So they are harmful to our neurons. We are very active things. They reach there in small matters and they harm our brain. So pesticide use control is not there in most of the countries, and so the farmers are using pesticides which are not supposed to be used once in a more than once in a month. They are using it say once in a week or even more than that. I know that from a lot of patients which I receive. So added flavors. These chemicals like added flavors, sweeteners, added colors, these chemicals are also very harmful, especially in the ready-made foods, in the packed foods, the preservatives, in the fast food. All these things are available now, and people take it very easy to take them, procure them, and easily gulp them. So these things not only have the fast foods, and they have trans fatty acids also. Trans fatty acids basically come from the oil which is used again and again. So for commercial purpose, they don't throw away the trans fatty acids, the oil which is used once, and they use it again and again. The more time it is used, more trans fatty acids, and they are harmful for the whole of the body. I'm talking of brain today, and that also quickly. Number five, heavy metal pollution. Now, heavy metal pollution, like we have water supplying to us through the tanks and pipes. So, lead comes through the water that remains in the pipe that contains lead and mercury. For example, we have seafood. So, this seafood, and we have rivers supplying the other things. Industrial waste of mercury, of lead, and so many heavy metals is being thrown into the rivers, into the canals, which goes to the sea. So all this river food by the side of the rivers, by the side of the canals, and even underwater and in the seafood especially, the fish like tuna fish, they are found to contain very high levels of mercury, which is very harmful for our neuronal functioning, connections, and hormones and transmitters. So heavy pollution, heavy metal pollution. Number six is solitary lifestyle. So many people are now becoming used to a solitary lifestyle, getting up, going to work, or working from home, getting to sleep. So this solitary thing doesn't give stimulation to our brain and neurons, which require large type of stimulation. And it is better that for anybody that should find time to go for a walk, go on the roof, do some other things, meet some people virtually or actually, make some groups, make some friends. This will push your mental illnesses, your anxiety, your depression, your neurosis, Alzheimer and dementia back by many, many years, and they will never come. Multitasking. Multitasking is becoming very common. One person is talking on the phone, doing something, writing something, and thinking also about something. And one person is doing many things simultaneously. So this stresses our brain. The stress hormones come, corticosteroids, noradrenaline, and they affect the long-term working of the brain. And some neurons, they shrink up. New neurons do not form. Then sleep deprivation. Now, sleep is very, very important. 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep is very important for storing what we have learned. So, this neurons, like this action potential which is generated from this cell dendrite, this axon, receive some information, what I'm thinking, or this touch information, or what I'm listening. So, this goes inside the cell by generating a action potential. And from the cell dendrite, it goes out into the axon. From the axon, you see, it goes to the other thing, other place to the transmitter, neurotransmitters, and goes to the other place. Now, when we sleep, this action potential, there is a back action potential. And so the memory goes and stores inside the cells. So, to sort out the memory which is storable, which should be stored, which should be coded, encoded, and then should be decoded and should be made into files and stored in the memory. Proper sleep is very important. Proper sleep helps you to retain the learning for long term, lifelong memory and for recall. So it increases the brain size, it helps to make new connections and new brain cells. Spending too much time in darkness. Now, many people spend like on the, now I am giving this lecture or I read, I mostly put the lights on. So many people puts the light off maybe to save electricity or like that habitually. So this darkness, as more time the people are now, youngsters are very used to that is get up late afternoon and remain awake throughout the night. But when you, the traditional system of getting up early in the morning when the sun gets up, you get up and then you see the birds chattering, the beautiful air and the trees and the environment, good things, good feeling, meet the people, they are fresh. So these things the person misses, and more the person remains in darkness, less stimulation to the neurons and to the brain, and the shining of neurons. Only when the neurons get stimulation, they shine and they send the signal to other neurons. And when they shine, other neurons shine. And when they shine together, they work together. They make groups to work together. So it is very important for the working, for making of new connections, speeding up the connection and information inside the brain, backing better neurotransmitters, and making increasing your brain size to be remain light in the light, not in the dark. Eight, chronic stress. So this is hypothalamus pituitary axis. Hypothalamus is an emotional center for our body. So hypothalamus, that gives when there is stress. Acute stress is okay. You get into some problem. Supposingly something bites me here, so I will try to kill it. Or this is acute stress and I acted. So like that. So this is acute stress gives to acute response. But a chronic stress, something may bite a fear, or that stress like seeing that some thing, somebody is bad around me, my children are bad, my wife is bad, my husband is bad, my father, parents are bad, my friends are bad, they are giving me stress. This chronic stress of examination, of studying, how will I study, whether I will pass or not, whether I will succeed or fail, what will happen in corona, will I become victim to the corona, will I survive or not. So such things of thousands and thousands of fears can be either resolved through the mind or can block the mind by becoming chronic stress means a hypothalamus to pituitary gland. Pituitary gland will stimulate all the system, our endocrinal system. And endocrinal system through adrenalines, hydrocortisone will increase our blood pressure, our heart rate, brain. It will affect the dopamine level, serotonin level. So these things will boil up our neurons. So poor neurons will shrinkle, and with the long-term stimulation of stress, they will be fatigued. So we will have shrinkage of neurons, less working neurons, tired neurons, shrinkage of brain. So avoid long-term stress in any way. Number nine, sedentary lifestyle. Now the sedentary lifestyle means sitting like say potato, sitting at one place. Person is made to move. Animals all are made to work and exercise. Human beings have created comforts for themselves, which are producing bad effects on the counterproductive. So we have to keep moving. This is a natural phenomena that we have to use our body. And if we do not use our body do not produce good things, and the brain does not receive enough oxygen, enough nutrients, and the fresh circulation. and enough stimulation. So one has to not to be sitting, one must exercise whatever way one can exercise, and one must move out, go for a jogging, go for walking, involve yourself into a sport. So like that's very important. Number 10, working or learning, reading, like when sick. So one when is sick, say one is sick with virus or some infection, whatever. There are so many types of illnesses. When the body is trying to heal, the mind is all totally fixed to try to help your body to heal. We should not stress the brain again and the neurons. It works like a chronic stress, especially if the disease is prolonged. So it is better not to work or try to read or learn while you are having some illness. Just take rest. Not drinking enough water. Now, three-fourths of our brain, that is 75%, is water. So 75% is water. You can imagine that if we do not take enough water, there will be water deprivation, and it will lead to shrinkage of brain, and the things will malleable interior, the environment of the brain will get spoiled. So always keep yourself hydrated. Do not dehydrate your brain. Number 12, not reading, writing, or having an intellectual talk or conversation, purposeful conversation. Now, reading, writing, having a purposeful conversation. Say, I'm having a conversation virtual with the live broadcast of my talk. I don't know how many are listening, but at least it is not only that I'm speaking, I'm listening to what I'm speaking. So, this is all giving signals to my neurons, and they are becoming activated and stimulated. And so they are working and shining, and this message is being passed to more neurons, and so they will build up more, and they will more cytoskeleton will be formed, new neurons will be formed. My brain or anybody who involves himself in these things of reading, writing, and conversation, means talking means purposeful conversation or intellectual conversation. Now, 13, exposure to loud noise. So, regular exposure to loud noise is supposed to, harm the hearing. Our some of the brain wants to cut off that noise. So, those parts which are receiving the noise, they become, blank and non-functional. So, our hearing activity becomes less. When we are not hearing much, so our IQ will go less, our learning will go less, our brain will be less activated. So what you should do, especially nowadays, earphones and earbuds are being used for music purposes or for other purposes. So these things they can harm our brain because we go in a crowded place, in a noisy place, and we increase the volume. This volume is very high. It should not be more than 50%, less than 50% of what the volume is available. If there is too noisy and you have to increase the volume, don't use it at that time because do not have a permanent harm to yourself. So, head cover, stop the head cover. Many times we sleep, we take the head cover in the winter, especially, or some people are habitual to use anytime. I remember my grandfather, so he, all the parents like grandparents also gave advice. He told me when I was a kid, then don't sleep with your head inside the quilt or the blanket. So I lowered the blanket. Now I have read this that if we take the blanket or quilt or any sheet up our sink, the carbon dioxide level will increase and that will cause damage to our brain. So that is that. I will take more talks if you so like about the details of various things like sugar, fatty acids, alcohol, cannabis, because they are very long topics. So for this time, I have only enumerated the various types of things which can harm the brain, which you can avoid to have a healthy brain, because you are what your brain is, you are what your thinking is, you are what your neurons are, and you are what your synapses are. So wishing you a healthy brain. Uh, Thank you for listening. And please press the like button if you have liked my talk. And please share it with your friends and relatives if you want to benefit them. And you may, subscribe to my channel so that you receive notifications when I upload more videos. And suggest me the videos the talks which you'd like to listen, because with the grace of God, I like to study multiple things. I'm a surgeon and a doctor, but I like to have a good study knowledge about many things in this life. So I will be very pleased if you suggest me topics to talk. Thank you. Bye bye for now.